New York City's skyline is a global icon, a living museum of ambition and dreams. Each building tells a story, and together, they form a timeline of innovation and reinvention. Walking the streets is like moving through history, where old and new architecture stand side by side. The city's energy is captured in its ever-changing skyline. Here, glass towers rise next to stone churches, creating a vibrant urban landscape. New York's architecture is a mirror of its people, immigrants, visionaries, and dreamers. Every brick and beam reflects the city's struggles and triumphs. The variety of styles shows a city that welcomes new ideas while honoring its past. This is a place where possibility is built into the skyline. In this series, we'll explore the eras that shaped New York, one building at a time. Join us as we uncover the innovation, beauty, and enduring spirit of a city always in motion. The story of New York is written in its streets and sketched across its skyline. New York's architectural journey began with simple Dutch and British colonial structures. Early homes and forts built from local materials set the foundation for a city that would never stop growing. As the city expanded, so did its ambitions. Georgian symmetry replaced Dutch practicality, and brownstone row houses became the face of new neighborhoods. The Gilded Age brought opulent mansions, standing in stark contrast to modest homes. Each era left its mark, from wooden houses to steel skyscrapers. Immigration, economic booms, and innovation shaped the city's skyline. New York's buildings are a living narrative, always reaching higher, always evolving. In this series, we'll spotlight the key moments and iconic architects who built the city's legacy. The city's story is etched in stone, brick, glass, and steel. Let's discover how New York became the architectural marvel it is today. New York's story starts as New Amsterdam, a Dutch trading post on Manhattan's southern tip. Early buildings were narrow, steep-roofed, and practical, echoes of Amsterdam, built with local wood and stone. Streets followed the land's natural curves, not the grid we know today. Homes doubled as shops, making the town lively and commercial from the start. The Dutch engineered canals, transforming marshes and shaping the city's early landscape. Though few original Dutch buildings remain, their influence lingers in the financial district's winding streets. Rare Dutch colonial farmhouses still stand in Brooklyn and Queens, like the Wyckoff House. These structures are precious links to New York's first chapter. Before the skyscrapers, New York was a determined Dutch town with a unique architectural footprint. The city's roots are still visible if you know where to look. In 1664, the English took over New Amsterdam and renamed it New York, bringing a new architectural style. Georgian architecture replaced Dutch whimsy with symmetry, balance, and classical elegance. Brick townhouses, public buildings, and churches reflected the city's growing wealth and British influence. St. Paul's Chapel, built in 1766, is a prime example, simple, dignified, and resilient. The shift to Georgian style was about more than aesthetics. It signaled a new identity and civic pride. Buildings became grander, moving away from the mercantile focus of the Dutch era. The city's architecture now expressed the ambitions of a rising colonial elite. This period laid the groundwork for New York's future growth. The city's urban fabric became more formal, setting the stage for transformation after independence. Georgian grace marked New York's emergence as a major port and cultural center. After the Revolution, New York became America's first capital, demanding a new architectural language. The federal style emerged, lighter, more refined, and distinctly American, with fanlights, slender columns, and elegant proportions. Gracie Mansion is a classic example of this style. Soon, Greek revival took hold, inspired by ancient Athens and the ideals of democracy. Public buildings and banks resembled Greek temples, projecting strength and integrity. Federal Hall on Wall Street embodies this spirit, standing where George Washington was inaugurated. These styles reflected a new national identity, connecting the young republic to the great democracies of the past. Architecture became a symbol of civic dignity and ambition. The city was poised for explosive growth, ready to build its own legacy. New York's post-revolutionary architecture set the stage for the city's rise as an American powerhouse. The 19th century saw New York explode northward, fueled by waves of immigrants and the Commissioner's Plan of 1811. The city's rigid grid replaced winding colonial streets, shaping Manhattan's future. Uniform lots and efficient development led to the rise of the iconic row house. Early neighborhoods featured elegant Federal and Greek Revival homes, still visible in Greenwich Village. As the city grew, brownstones became the symbol of middle-class respectability and permanence. The grid made construction rapid and profitable, transforming farmland into dense urban neighborhoods. New York became a planned metropolis, designed for commerce and residential life on a massive scale. The city's relentless expansion reflected its ambition and energy. The architecture of this era set the foundation for the skyscrapers to come. New York was shedding its colonial past, becoming the industrial giant of the 19th century. As the 19th century unfolded, a new look began to dominate New York's residential streets: the age of the brownstone. The reddish-brown sandstone, quarried primarily in New Jersey and Connecticut, gave the era its name. Developers used it as a facade for new townhouses, creating streetscapes of remarkable consistency. The quintessential New York brownstone represented a specific way of life for the burgeoning middle class. The stoop became a crucial social space. The parlor floor was reserved for entertaining guests. Early versions were often built in the Italianate style. Later, styles like the Neo-Grec and Queen Anne introduced different decorative elements. Today, neighborhoods like Brooklyn Heights and the Upper West Side are famous for their beautifully preserved brownstone districts. These houses are now highly sought-after historic homes and a powerful symbol of New York elegance. The brownstone is an icon. While the middle class settled into its brownstones, another architectural story was unfolding during the Gilded Age, a time of immense industrial growth and staggering fortunes. Families like the Vanderbilts and Carnegies wanted to display their wealth. They built magnificent mansions on Fifth Avenue known as Millionaires' Row. They hired prominent architects like Richard Morris Hunt, trained in the École des Beaux-Arts, bringing European sensibility to designs resembling French chateaux. These homes declared power and social dominance, rivaling European palaces with opulent interiors. Rooms featured priceless art and custom furniture. These mansions embodied the Gilded Age's excess. Sadly, this era was short-lived. Rising taxes and commercial development led to demolitions. Only a few survived, like the Warburg and Frick houses, relics of a transformative era. The Gilded Age sparked grand ambition and civic pride, leading to magnificent public buildings. Influenced by the City Beautiful movement, architects designed monumental spaces to inspire civic virtue. New York began building palaces for the people, grand museums, libraries, and train stations. The architectural style of choice was Beaux Arts classicism, emphasizing symmetry and lavish ornamentation. The New York Public Library, a Beaux Arts masterpiece, exemplifies this movement. Other iconic structures include Grand Central Terminal and the Metropolitan Museum of Art. These public palaces transformed New York, creating focal points and spaces of beauty, an optimistic investment for all. As the 19th century drew to a close, a new kind of building began to transform New York's skyline forever: the skyscraper. The invention of a safe passenger elevator and steel frame construction made this vertical leap possible. Early skyscrapers like the Woolworth Building stretched traditional designs vertically. Driven by Manhattan's intense economic pressures and expensive land, developers built up. This fueled a race to build the tallest tower, a symbol of corporate power. This race defined New York architecture, creating dense streets and concentrating workers. The city's skyline was redrawn by these commercial giants. This sparked an ambition that would soon create the world's most iconic skyline. The Roaring Twenties brought a new energy to New York. This new modern spirit demanded a new modern architecture: Art Deco. The style was a perfect fit for the skyscraper: bold, decorative, and inherently vertical. Art Deco embraced geometric shapes, symmetry, and stylized ornamentation, using new materials like stainless steel and chrome. It celebrated the vertical lines of the skyscraper, drawing the eye upward with strong setbacks and soaring spires. The 1916 zoning resolution required buildings to set back from the street as they rose higher, creating a terraced shape. Buildings like the Channon Building and the General Electric Building showcased the glamour of Art Deco. Art Deco was an expression of New York's confidence and its position as the leading city of the 20th century. Of all the great Art Deco skyscrapers, none capture the glamour and optimism of the era quite like the Chrysler Building. Completed in 1930, it was the passion project of Walter P. Chrysler, who wanted a monument to his company and the machine age. Architect William Van Allen delivered a masterpiece of decorative architecture. The Chrysler Building is a bold, joyful, and beautiful building loved by New Yorkers and the world. Its incredible ornamentation, based on the Chrysler automobile, features eagle gargoyles and racing car friezes. The building proudly wears its commercial identity, a stunning fusion of art and industry. The magnificent crown, made of Narosta stainless steel, has radiating arches with triangular windows. The Chrysler Building remains perhaps the most beloved skyscraper in New York, a timeless symbol of Jazz-age elegance. As the Chrysler Building neared completion, an even more ambitious project began: the Empire State Building. Financed by investors including John J. Raskob, it directly challenged Walter Chrysler. Raskob asked his architect William F. Lamb how high he could build without it falling down. The goal was to be the world's tallest building for a long time. Its design, a restrained Art Deco style, rose in symmetrical setbacks. The Empire State Building became a legend due to its rapid construction, a marvel of logistics and engineering. Completed in 1931, it symbolized American resilience, holding the world's tallest title for nearly 40 years. Its fame grew through observation decks and pop culture appearances like in King Kong. It became a global icon of ambition and the power to build. After World War II, America entered a new era. The exuberant decoration of Art Deco started to feel dated. A new architectural philosophy, modernism, began to take hold. It was a radical departure from everything that came before. Modernist architects rejected historical ornament. They championed a clean, minimalist aesthetic. This new style was all about simplicity of form. The shift in thinking was profound. The new mantra was less is more. Buildings were stripped down to their essential elements. The steel frame was now celebrated. This new glass box architecture was seen as efficient and forward-looking. It was the perfect style for the post-war corporate world. One of the most influential examples was the Lever House. Completed in 1952, it was revolutionary. It transformed Park Avenue into a showcase of modernist design. The age of the sleek glass box had begun. The new modernist aesthetic was called the International style, reflecting its global ambitions and European roots. Architects like Walter Gropius and Ludwig Mies van der Rohe fled Nazi Germany, impacting American architecture and education. New York City became the stage for this movement. The Seagram Building, designed by Mies van der Rohe and Philip Johnson, is the masterpiece of the International style. Its elegance and simplicity set a new standard for luxury skyscrapers. Another landmark was the United Nations headquarters. The Secretariat Building symbolizes a transparent world. Together, these buildings cemented the triumph of the International style. The principles of modernism were not just applied to individual skyscrapers. They also fueled a massive, citywide movement known as urban renewal. In the mid-20th century, city planners, led by powerful figures like Robert Moses, saw large parts of the city as, blighted or slums. They believed these older neighborhoods with their tenements and historic fabric were inefficient and unhealthy. Their solution was radical: tear them down and start over. They wanted to replace the dense, complex city of the past with a new vision based on modernist ideals. This vision favored superblocks, high-rise apartment towers set in open green space, and highways that cut through neighborhoods. This approach led to huge construction projects that, honestly, dramatically altered the face of New York. Large housing projects like the Stuyvesant Town, Peter Cooper Village were built, replacing acres of older buildings with uniform brick towers. Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts was created by clearing a whole neighborhood, San Juan Hill. The goal was to create a more orderly, rational, and modern city. Planners believed that separating functions, placing residential towers here, cultural centers there, and connecting them with highways, was the key to a better urban life. This was a complete rejection of the traditional mixed-use city street. However, these ambitious projects came at a great human cost. Urban renewal often displaced thousands of residents, destroyed established communities, and erased priceless historical architecture. The new environments that were created often felt sterile, isolated, and unsafe. The promised green spaces were frequently underused and windswept plazas. Critics, most famously Jane Jacobs in her book The Death and Life of Great American Cities, argued that these projects fundamentally misunderstood what made cities work. She championed the messy, chaotic, and diverse life of the traditional city street, which urban renewal sought to eliminate. The legacy of urban renewal is complex and controversial. On one hand, it created thousands of units of new housing and major cultural institutions that are still vital today. On the other hand, it left deep scars on the city, both physically and socially. It led to a growing public backlash against large-scale demolition and the top-down planning approach of modernism. This growing discontent would eventually spark a powerful new movement in the city historic preservation. people began to realize that the city's older buildings were not just obstacles to progress, but were in fact a precious and irreplaceable resource. The era of wholesale renewal was coming to an end. Urban renewal sparked a counter-movement as New Yorkers recognized the city was losing its soul. The destruction of the original Pennsylvania station in 1963 was the final blow. The public outcry mobilized architects, historians, and citizens. This led to the New York City Landmarks Law in 1965. The first test came with Grand Central Terminal. The legal battle went to the Supreme Court. The court upheld the city's right to protect historic buildings. This victory solidified the power of the Landmarks Law. Historic preservation is now a fundamental part of New York's identity. This movement has ensured that the city's rich architectural story is not erased. As the 21st century began, New York architecture entered a new, exciting phase. Having moved past the strict doctrines of modernism, architects felt a new freedom to experiment with form, materials, and expression. The rise of digital design tools and advanced engineering techniques allowed for the creation of buildings with complex, sculptural shapes that would have been impossible just a generation earlier. This new wave of architecture, often called deconstructivism or parametricism, rejected the simple glass box. Instead, it embraced bold, asymmetrical forms, curving facades, and dramatic, eye-catching silhouettes. A new generation of starchitects began to leave their mark on the city's skyline. This new architectural energy is visible across the city. Frank Gehry's 8 Spruce Street Tower in Lower Manhattan is a prime example. It is a residential skyscraper clad in a rippling stainless steel skin that makes the building look like a shimmering, frozen waterfall. Near the High Line, Zaha Hadid's 520 West 28th Street features futuristic, curving metal forms that blur the lines between floors. These buildings are highly individualistic and sculptural. They are designed to be landmarks to stand out from the grid and capture the public's imagination. They represent a return to a kind of architectural showmanship not seen since the Art Deco era, but with a completely new formal language. Alongside this formal experimentation, another crucial trend has emerged: sustainability. Architects and developers are now increasingly focused on creating environmentally responsible buildings. This green architecture involves using recycled materials, designing for energy efficiency, and incorporating green roofs and other features that reduce a building's environmental impact. The Bank of America Tower at One Bryant Park, for example, was one of the first skyscrapers designed to achieve a Platinum LEED certification, the highest standard for sustainability. This focus shows a growing awareness that architecture must not only be beautiful and functional, but also responsible to the planet. Today, New York's architectural landscape is more diverse than ever. Sleek new residential towers are rising in places like Hudson Yards and along the Brooklyn waterfront. At the same time, historic buildings are being creatively repurposed through adaptive reuse, giving old structures new life as hotels, condos, or cultural spaces. The city continues to be a laboratory for architectural innovation, a place where the old and the new exist in a constant dynamic dialogue. The story of New York's architecture is far from over. It continues to be written every day, with each new project adding another layer to the city's complex and endlessly fascinating urban fabric. New York City's architecture reflects its ambitious, resilient, and diverse character. From Dutch gabled houses to modern towers, the city's buildings tell a tale of human aspiration. Each era layers its styles, creating a living urban organism where diverse architectural styles share the same street. This reveals how the city's form connects to its people and economy. Today, New York inspires architects globally, representing a place where bold ideas can be realized. The city embraces sustainability and new aesthetics while cherishing its historic identity. New York's architecture is its autobiography, written against the sky, defining our image of the modern city.